When you think about it, water is everywhere. It covers something like 70% of our planet. It makes up 60% of our bodies. We drink it every single day. It's got to be the most common substance on Earth. But here's the thing. It's also the most extraordinary. Its properties are so unique, so perfectly tuned for life, that it almost feels like magic. But it's not. It's chemistry. So, how do we crack the code on that chemistry? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are going to investigate the hidden force that lets water seem to defy gravity, that allows insects to just walk on its surface, and that makes it the ultimate stage for life itself. So, what is water's secret superpower? Our investigation starts with things you've probably seen a million times, but maybe never really thought about. Have you ever really watched an insect, like this water strider, just casually skate across a pond like it's solid ground? Or how about dewdrops on the grass? Have you noticed how they pull themselves into these perfect little beads? It's almost like the water has this invisible skin holding it all together. What is that force? What allows water to stick to itself so incredibly well? The answer to that question, the key to pretty much all of water's amazing abilities, isn't something you can see on the surface of a pond. We've got to zoom in, way, way in, because believe it or not, it all comes down to its unique shape. So let's meet the prime suspect in our mystery, the water molecule itself. Its simple, kind of lopsided design is the secret we've been looking for. We all learned this in school, right? H2O, one oxygen atom, two hydrogen atoms. Simple. But the secret isn't just the parts, it's how they're put together. You'll notice it's not a straight line. The hydrogens are stuck to the oxygen at an angle, making this kind of bent V-shape. And this happens because the atoms are sharing electrons, but that sharing isn't exactly fair. This unequal sharing of electrons creates something called polarity. Here's a way to think about it. That big oxygen atom is a bit of an electron hog. It pulls the shared electrons closer, which gives the oxygen end of the molecule a slight negative charge. That, of course, leaves the two hydrogen ends with a slight positive charge. So, here's the big takeaway. Every single water molecule acts like a tiny, weak magnet with a negative pole and two positive poles. So if one water molecule is a tiny magnet, what happens when you get trillions of them together in a single drop? Well, you know what they say, opposites attract. They just can't help but interact with each other, forming what is basically the ultimate social network. Now, other molecules stick together too. Take a gecko, for example. The only reason it can climb a smooth wall is because of these incredibly weak temporary attractions between the molecules in its feet and the molecules in the wall. They're called van der Waals forces. You can think of them like quick, faint handshakes. But the attraction between water molecules? Whoa, that's a whole different ballgame. And this is it. This is the secret superpower, the hydrogen bond. It's the attraction between that slightly positive hydrogen on one water molecule and the slightly negative oxygen on another. Now, it's not a full-on chemical bond. It's way weaker than the bonds holding the H2O molecule itself together. But it's a lot stronger than those gecko foot forces, and that, my friends, makes all the difference. So what does this actually look like? Well, each water molecule can form these hydrogen bonds with up to 4 of its neighbors. This creates this incredible, constantly shifting, interconnected web of molecules all clinging to each other. It's like a dynamic, microscopic group hug that gives liquid water all of its structure.
Okay, so how does this molecular group hug translate into real-world superpowers? How does it actually explain insects walking on water? Let's connect the dots.
It all starts with a property called cohesion. That's just a fancy word for the attraction between molecules of the same kind. Thanks to those hydrogen bonds, water molecules are super cohesive. They love to stick together. So at the surface of a pond, the molecules on top are being pulled inwards by all their buddies below them. And this creates that tight, invisible film we call surface tension. That tension is literally strong enough to hold up a water strider. It's also what pulls water into those perfect little droplets. But water doesn't just stick to itself. It also sticks to other polar surfaces. That's a property called adhesion. And when you put cohesion and adhesion together, you get this amazing phenomenon called capillary action. Water molecules stick to the sides of a narrow tube, like a plant stem, and then they pull other water molecules up with them. It is literally how water defies gravity to get from the roots to the leaves of the tallest trees on Earth. Hydrogen bonds give water another incredible superpower. When water gets cold enough to freeze, those bonds lock the molecules into this fixed crystal-like structure. And here's the wild part. That organized structure actually holds the molecules farther apart than when they were just flowing around as a liquid. This means ice is less dense than water, and that's why ice floats.
This simple fact is absolutely crucial for life because it lets lakes freeze from the top down, insulating the water below so fish and other life can survive the winter.
Okay, but we're not done yet. Water's talents don't stop there. We've seen how it holds itself together, but what about how it pulls other things apart? This brings us to its most famous nickname, the universal solvent.
And the answer, you guessed it, is polarity again. Because water molecules are these tiny magnets, they're fantastic at tearing apart other polar compounds, like salt. The negative oxygen ends swarm the positive sodium ions, and the positive hydrogen ends surround the negative chloride ions, completely pulling the salt crystal apart and dissolving it.
This is what we call a solution, or a homogeneous mixture. Everything is mixed up perfectly. You can't see the individual salt bits anymore. But what happens if you try to mix water with something that isn't polar, like sand? Well, it just won't dissolve. The parts stay separate in what's called a heterogeneous mixture.
Water's role as a solvent is also totally fundamental to the chemistry of acids and bases. See, when an acid dissolves in water, it releases positively charged hydrogen ions, and when a base or alkaline substance dissolves, it releases negatively charged hydroxide ions.
We actually measure the concentration of these hydrogen ions using the pH scale. A lower pH means more hydrogen ions, making something more acidic, like lemon juice. A higher pH means it's more basic, like soapy water. And right there in the middle with a perfect pH of 7 is pure water. It's perfectly neutral. And let me tell you, maintaining this delicate pH balance is absolutely essential for nearly every biological process there is.
So, let's bring it all home. The secret to water's power all starts with its simple bent shape, which creates polarity. That polarity is what allows for hydrogen bonds, the true superpower. These bonds then lead to cohesion and adhesion, which give us surface tension and capillary action. They're also why ice is less dense than water, which is why it floats. And finally, that polarity makes water the universal solvent, able to dissolve more things than anything else on Earth.
Just stop and think about that for a second. All of this amazing complexity, all these properties that make life on this planet possible, all of it comes from one slightly lopsided molecule, just following a few simple rules of attraction. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a simple water molecule can lead to such complex, life-sustaining behavior, what other wonders of nature are out there, just waiting for us to understand them, all emerging from the simplest rules?